We work here at TitanWell, and we're here to present our topic, Mission Nutrition. We're going to cover fats, carbs, protein, and all the things you need to know in order to make a balanced plate. So let's get started.
All right, so the first thing we have here is, I know most of you probably don't want to hear this, but we have a pre-test. So as you can see here, we have a QR code and Snapchat code. For those of you that are watching with us on screen, it might not show up if you try to scan it. So we do have a link here. You can type it in. Go ahead and pause the video, take a few moments to fill out that survey. It should take about no longer than 10 minutes. And what the surveys really is for is to let us know, one, are these workshops in demand? Two, how can we improve these workshops in the near future for fellow Titans like yourselves? And three, just what are some of the general things you know about nutrition? So, yeah.
So what Titans are saying. So here's a list of different quotes taken from our outcome evaluation that was facilitated of spring 2018. These are a lot of common barriers that Titans just like yourself face each and every day as a barrier to eating healthy. So one example is, I ate really healthy at home, but here I skip meals or don't get the kind of healthy food I enjoy. So it's really common that students tend to skip meals just because we do have a lot of responsibilities going on. Some of us can have a job or even two jobs. We have classes that can last a long time, maybe like 3 hours or more. And we do have clubs and other commitments outside of school as well. So that's a common barrier that students do face. Another example is, as the semester got more intense, I lost a lot of my good habits eating healthy. And that's really common as well. It's really easy to, try to make a goal in order to eat healthier. But, sometimes when we get stressed out, like those things can go out the door. So we're going to also focus on learning how to maintain those goals that we have for ourselves throughout the semester.
All right, so normally during the presentation, it is an interactive kind of workshop or presentation, and these are some of the questions we might ask you. So for this question, it asks, what's the biggest challenge you face to balance nutrition? And normally you would take out your phones and be able to enter your own answers. But as you can see, we do have some leftover answers from a previous workshop or presentation. So as you can see here off the bat, some of them is lack of money and time, being a broke college student, not knowing what I need for a balanced nutrition. So these are just some examples to kind of let you, the students and the Titans, know that everyone faced different struggles and obstacles when it comes to eating a balanced, nutritious meal or whatever your nutrition goal is. And really, it's just to let you guys know you're not the only ones facing it.
All right, so this is just a reminder. We do work at TitanWell. We're PR health educators, meaning we don't know all the answers. This is a great reminder if you're typically in a workshop setting or a BioQuest presentation setting. We like to, take your questions, but sometimes we're not able to answer those questions simply because we're not, registered dietitians. But we do work with a registered dietitian, so in case you have any questions, feel free to email us. Your professor would probably have that information as well. But we'll try our best to communicate this information to you.
All right, so as you can see here, it says, how will you time well? So normally during our workshops or presentations, we would give you guys these little action plan booklets. They should be linked in the email or however you'll be getting this video presentation. But pretty much these are just some of the ways to start jotting down maybe some ideas that you noticed throughout the presentation of some of the nutrition goals that you want to set for yourselves. So as you can see here, some of the questions you might ask yourself is, what needs to be changed and why? Or what's the best thing that could happen if I change? And one that I always like is, what steps am I willing to take? And as you can see here, it says, remember, small changes add up to big results. So whatever your goal is, when it comes to diet or nutrition, that is a big behavioral lifestyle change, right? And it could be scary sometimes. So make sure to start off with some small goals and then build your way up to that ultimate goal.
Okay, so here's a question, true or false? An estimated 75% of Titans don't get enough fruits or vegetables. Here we have the majority of students that chose true, and that's actually the wrong answer. So here we have 3 students who got the right answer, which is false. We'll cover what the actual percentage is on the next slide.
All right, so as you can see here, this is the actual percentage. So an estimated 96.7% of Cal State Fullerton students don't get enough fruits and vegetables, which is kind of shocking, right? For some of you, maybe you thought it was lower, but it's actually much higher. And as you can see here, we have a little study here specifically done on Cal State Fullerton students back in 2018. And this is a chart representing how much fruits and veggies Cal State Fullerton students are consuming. And as you can see here in the yellow bar, the majority of students were only getting about 1 to 2 servings per day. But actually the recommended daily servings for fruits and veggies is actually 5 servings per day. As you can see here in blue, that's the least amount. So that's definitely some food for thought, right? Something to think about. And why does that correlate or relate to us as students? Why is it important? As you can see here, highlighted in hot pink, it says hard to earn a degree. And for the majority of us, right, as students, right, that's probably our main priority, right? Is to earn a degree, get a education, and move on in whatever endeavors or goals we have, right? And as you can see here, students were more likely to report academics were difficult to handle, stress was affecting their academic performance, or they have a C or D GPA.
Okay, so here we have CSUF as compared to other universities. So we are represented by the hot pink color here, and then all other universities are represented by the green. So you can see the percentage of students having 2 or less servings per day is actually increasing, both here and among other campuses as well. But here it's more of a stark increase. So we want to try to decrease that number because this is not a great thing. And you can see here the goal, which is having 5 or more servings per day. CSUF students are actually, the number of students hitting that goal is decreasing, as well as other universities, but again, we have a more dramatic decrease. So those are not great numbers, and we'll talk about why those are important as well.
All right, so here we have another Mentimeter question that we usually play with our students. So true or false, relative to other nutrients, starch and healthy fats help us feel fuller for longer. And as you can see here, a majority of students said true, but the answer is actually false. Now, for those of you that maybe are ahead of the game and already know, the actual foods that make you feel fuller for longer is a combination of protein and fiber. And we'll definitely cover that in some upcoming slides.
Okay, so this is our performance plate here. It might look familiar to some of you, especially if you grew up with a cafeteria that had like My Plate pictures all around. But this is called our performance plate. It is adapted from My Plate. You can see that it has a standard size plate, right? And then we have half of the plate is fruits and vegetables. A fourth of the plate is allocated to whole grains and starch. And then the other fourth of the plate is lean protein. You can see that fiber and protein, which Raymond just talked about, comes from the whole grains and also from the fruits and vegetables. That's where the fiber comes from. And the protein would be from this fourth of the plate here. So this can look kind of scary if you don't really know where to start in eating a balanced diet. But if you ask yourself these 3 questions, it might be helpful. So for example, you can ask yourself, how can I make fruits or vegetables about half of my meal? Another question you can ask is, how can I make fiber-rich grains or starches about a fourth of my meal? And then the last question is, how can I make lean protein about a fourth of my meal? Some of these foods may also overlap. For example, if you have, some kind of vegetable, so like edamame, for example, is rich in fiber and also protein. So they can overlap that way too, which is a great option.
All right, so now we have another Mentimeter question. So true or false? Unlike juices, smoothies are as filling as whole fruits and vegetables because they retain all of the fiber. And as you can see here, for this class, majority of them said false, which is actually the correct answer. The reason why this might be is you gotta think of it like this. Imagine you take those whole fruits and vegetables and you put it in the blender. When you pretty much blend it up, you're pretty much doing the breaking down process of the stomach, right? So you pretty much pre-chewed everything, and pretty much some of that fiber is lost within that process.
Okay, so let's get fruity. So this is our fruit slide. Again, remember half the plate is allocated to fruits and vegetables. So fruits do contain carbohydrates, which is sugar, and fiber. So this makes them a great snack option, especially if you're going to head out to a workout, you want some kind of a quick sugar source. Fruit would be a great option. It does provide us with that quick release energy. They also contain vitamins and antioxidants, and they're highly anti-inflammatory, which also makes them have great health benefits for us. And also, just like Raymond said, compared to smoothies or juice, solid fruits do contribute to feeling fuller. So because they have fiber is what helps them make us feel fuller for a longer time. So adding fruit to, even untraditional things like maybe your salad, your oatmeal can be a great option. And don't be afraid to get adventurous. You can always add seasonings. For example, here we have watermelon and like a spicy seasoning to add to it to make it taste more flavorful to you. And also having like frozen options that won't go bad and it will last longer is a great option as well.
All right, so now we're talking about our vegetables. So as you can see here, most vegetables are a good source of fiber. And it also says plant pigments like carotenoids, chlorophylls, and flavonoids offer different benefits. So pretty much the pigment part here is just saying pigment is another word for color. And as you can see on the bottom here, it says choose a variety of different colors of veggies throughout the week. So maybe some of you have heard of Eat the Rainbow. So pretty much be adventurous and try different types of vegetables of different colors. And based on that, you will be able to get these other health benefits that some of these vegetables might provide. Other than that, it says folate in dark leafy greens is important for new cells and DNA synthesis. So that's always nice and a plus to like recover and repair, right? And then avocados contain heart-healthy monounsaturated fats.
All right, our next question. So it's a true or false question. So true or false, one reason it's recommended to choose whole grains over refined is because whole grains contain more phytochemicals. So we can see here the answer is actually true. Phytochemicals may sound like a really big word, but it is contained within the brand of whole grains. So whole grains are typically a better option. They supply us with more fiber, and they're not stripped down the way refined grains are. So we recommend choosing whole grains when you can.
All right, so meant to be. So it says grains contain carbohydrates, starches. Some starchy foods are rich in fiber and protein. And as you can see here, starches provide a slower release of energy than sugar. So part of the reason why starches provide a slower release is pretty much before, when we're talking about maybe our fruits, we had a simple sugar. So something about this size, but a starch is about this size. So just a longer change of sugars. And basically, your body takes a longer time to break that down, right? Other benefits is, as you can see here, carbs are the main fuel source for the brain. Fun fact, the brain will actually not use fat as an energy source. And primarily, our body loves to use carbs just for every kind of work inside the body, just throughout our day, right? So moving on to the next point, which says low carb diets impair vigorous activity and cause muscle breakdown, right? So why would that seem kind of counterintuitive? Because there are some trends where maybe some people are about the low carb diet, or maybe you've heard of the ketogenic diet, right? But really, like I said before, carbs are really important for us. And as you can see, it will impair our activity and it will impair muscle breakdown, because to be able to basically build muscle or repair muscle, that's a job within the body, right? So to be able to do that, you need an energy source to do that work. So that is why starches that are, I guess, more bang for your buck in terms of energy can definitely help you repair or build up some muscle. And lastly, it says make at least 50% of your grains whole instead of refined.
Okay, so true or false? So students are a high-risk group for protein deficiency. So you can see we had a lot of students put true for this question just because the idea of being deficient in protein levels is kind of rampant and really out there. A lot of times we think it's because of like social media, always promoting protein. But just having our standard diets as Americans and living here, we usually are not at risk for being deficient in protein. So it's actually false, and we'll discuss how to get adequate protein in our bodies.
All right, so get yoked. So protein foods are often a fat source. Many Americans do not make varied protein choices. So as you can see here on the bottom, it says consider a flexitarian pattern by choosing more plant-based proteins. So if we look here on the slide, we have an assortment of different types of proteins that maybe you're willing to try. As you can see here, we have some salmon, some tuna, but we also have the plant-based choices. So we have some tempeh, which is like a soy-based product. Looks like we have some cottage cheese and some soy milk. So those are just some examples that maybe you can include into your diet to get closer to that performance plate, right? And some of the benefits of protein. Protein is important for the immune function, right? It says eating fish and nuts provide omega-3 fats for brain signaling. So pretty much how my professor used to say it is pretty much any kind of work that's done in the body, most likely it's done by a protein. So protein's actually really important. It's not only for building muscle. So other than that, it says dairy and soy milk also contain calcium, and protein powders and bars are not usually necessary. Kind of like what Eileen was discussing before, right? As students, we're not really a high risk of protein deficiency.
All right, so since we're looking at this through our computer, you can go ahead and lift up your hands. We're going to use this as a simple measuring tool for when we're out and about and trying to see if we're getting enough servings of each of the macronutrients we're talking about. So, for example, we can use 2 cupped hands is going to be 2 cups of vegetables. So as shown here, we have somebody holding like a mixed greens kind of mix here for like a salad, for example. We can use this also for spinach. And yeah, that's a great measuring tool in case you're interested. So this person would have 2 cups out of like their 5 servings of vegetables for the day, which is awesome. If we want to do a fist, so that can be a cup of fruit or grains. So this example here has like an orange, for example, so that'd be 1 serving of fruit, or grains. So we could also use this for oatmeal, for example, or a cup of rice. A small handful, we could use that to measure nuts. So this is mixed nuts right here. You could also use it for things that are maybe like more fat sources. And then palm, so we can use our palm for 3 ounces of meat. So this is a protein source here. We can also use it for like fish or any kind of protein really for your palm. And then a fingertip is going to be a teaspoon of fats. So in this example, we have butter. So we also have a thumb as a tablespoon of spread. So this example has peanut butter, but this could go for any kind of like nut butter really, cashew butter, almond butter. And then the fats are going to be smaller than, all of these other ones because fats are more calorie dense than the other macronutrients.
All right, so this is kind of our little activity where we get to apply what we learned and get to apply the performance plate that we mentioned earlier. So as you can see here, we have a student that went to Panda Express, and it looks like she got some teriyaki chicken, some brown rice, and some steamed veggies. And as you can see here, she also has an orange. Now, most of the time during this presentation, we would ask, where do you think that orange came from? Go ahead and give you a second. So for those of you that might have thought of it, the orange actually came from home. So that is one great way to kind of make a more balanced, nutritious meal and get closer to the performance plate, right? So in this case, she got about 2 palms worth of teriyaki chicken. So that would go into the lean protein section, right? She also got a fistful, right? with the helping hands measurement that we discussed before, which is about 1 cup of brown rice, another fistful of steamed veggies, in this case it was broccoli, and then the orange from home, right?
All right, so our next student really wanted to go to Starbucks, but she also wanted to keep in mind her balanced plate. So what she did was she ordered a whole wheat bagel, but only ate half of it because she wanted to make room for the other portions of her plate. So this whole wheat bagel is gonna give her some fiber, which is also really important. And then also the peanut butter on there is gonna give her some protein and fat. Then we have some Greek yogurt, which is gonna supply you with protein. I believe containers like this size are gonna be around 12 to 13 grams of protein, which is really good. It's gonna keep you fuller for a longer time, so we already have that fiber and that protein. We're gonna have a banana as well, so that is more fiber, gonna keep her fuller for a longer time, and then also a coffee on the side. So this is an example of how to make balanced choices when you're out at Starbucks.
All right, so for this student, he went to Carl's Jr., right? And it looks like he got a cheeseburger, which is about 1 palm or the 3-ounce patty that we were talking about, right? Looks like he was a little bit health conscious with his drink, and he got a half sweetened iced tea, looks like, and it was a small. And to kind of get closer to that veggie and fruit of our performance plate, looks like he either brought an apple from home or maybe they replaced the french fries, for example, and bought some carrot sticks.
All right, so this is our last student for this example. He used budgetbytes.com. He is a student athlete and he really wanted to cook at home. So that's always a great option if you have the time and can do it. It's a great option. So here we have garlic herb chicken breast, which is about 3 palms or 9 ounces of chicken. Roasted vegetable couscous. So we have that here. That's also a great source of fiber, and you can see that it's mixed with vegetables. So he's also hitting this target here of fruits and vegetables and also the grains target. A side salad and vinaigrette. So around 2 cupped hands of that, or 4 cups. And then some milk on the side, so 1.5 cups, which would give you some protein as well. You can see that his portion sizes are larger than the previous students, but he also is an athlete, so how much you eat does depend on your level of activity, for example, along with, your gender, and a bunch of other factors, so keep that in mind as well.
All right, so back to one of our Mentimeter questions. So true or false? For some, eating fried foods and drinking soda are great ways to stay healthy. And as you can see here, majority of students said false, and one student actually got it correct. So why might this be considered a great alternative for students? It could be some individual factors, maybe for them doing a lifestyle change or a behavioral change. They can't move from one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum, right? That's like doing a big jump, right? But as mentioned before, if we can use maybe a cheeseburger or maybe a sugary drink like a soda to move closer to the other side of the spectrum, maybe they can go from a sugary drink to a 0-calorie drink, like a Gatorade, for example, to maybe next to a tea, and then maybe some juices in the future. So that might be a great alternative for them. But really it depends on the individual because everyone's different.
Just be you. So numbers like weight and calories don't reflect who we are, and it's really important to remember that. So it's important to define what healthy means to you. Here we have 3 different students from CSUF who have different numbers that describe them. For example, we have this student athlete here who we did mention a couple slides ago. They are 22, their height is 5'5", and they need almost 2,500 calories a day in order to maintain their weight. Here we have another student who's 27 and he's 5'6", and he needs almost 2,000 calories a day to maintain his weight. And our last student is 19, she's 5'9", and she needs 2,400 calories per day to maintain her weight. Again, if your goal is to increase your weight, then those numbers will shift. Just like if you want to lose weight, the numbers will shift as well. They will go lower. It's important also to examine your food rules. So there's no such thing as a perfect diet. We say if forbidding a certain food leads to intense cravings, you want to give yourself permission to enjoy it. So something I like to think of is I really like to eat chocolate. So if I have a diet that's presented to me saying like, oh, you'll reach all your goals if you just, do this and that, and you cannot have chocolate, like that's not realistic for me personally. So it's important to think of foods you really enjoy having. You want to have a good relationship with foods. You want to think of this as more long-term, not like a short-term diet. So we want to be sustainable with our food choices. And also honor yourself with nutritious choices and satisfying ones.
All right, so we have another Mentimeter question here. So true or false? Mindful eating refers to having intuition about which foods are healthy or unhealthy to eat. And as you can see here, majority of students chose true, but that answer is actually false. And we'll actually explain what mindful eating is in an upcoming slide.
Okay, so mindful eating isn't really about labeling foods as good or bad, because that can kind of be more of a diet mentality that we don't want to promote. Mindful eating is more about how food makes us feel, just like exercise. If exercise makes you feel good, then you should do it. So here's some tips and tricks on how to mindfully eat in your own life. So here we have minimizing distractions. So we can see like a television screen over here. It's really common that a lot of us can go home from a long day, sit down in front of the TV, watch Netflix, and also eat at the same time. We might notice that we are snacking more so than we would if we didn't have that distraction in front of us. A similar thing with our phones. Sometimes we'll be eating lunch and we'll have our phone, just skimming through Instagram, for example, and we're not really being in tune with what we're doing. So it can be really valuable to just, put those distractions aside and really focus on being in tune with your body, your hunger and fullness cues, and really focusing on your activity, which is eating. Another tip is to take small bites. And chewing thoroughly. I feel like these two go together, especially if we get to that point where we're so starving because we didn't eat for a longer period of time, and we get hangry and then we kind of just eat a lot more than we would have. So these two steps can really be helpful with that. And then also savoring all sensory aspects. So this can be useful if we're eating a food that's maybe more indulgent, that we don't have in our diet all of the time, that maybe is not part of our performance plate. An example can be like hot Cheetos. If you really love to eat hot Cheetos and it's totally cool, you can have that in your diet. But just making sure you really enjoy and savor the moment that you are eating the hot Cheetos. And then also knowing your body's cues. So before, during, and after meals, you can ask yourself these questions. So how hungry or full am I? And how can I tell? So being really in tune with your body, knowing like, okay, I feel nice and satisfied here, I should stop. And how am I feeling? So stressed, bored, content, etc. So a lot of students tend to eat when they're more stressed out, and that's totally fine. That's totally common. But the first step is to really notice that you're stress eating, and then finding other alternative ways to relieve that stress. So whether it's like taking your dog for a walk, maybe just watching a movie, doing some activity like yoga, for example, can be a great way to relieve the stress so that's not affecting your eating choices. And how am I enjoying what I'm eating? So that's really important as well. We want to eat some good food.
All right, so another true and false question. So eating after 8 p.m. promotes weight gain. So as you can see here from this class, it was pretty even, but the actual correct answer is false. And pretty much to explain this one is, hopefully this is not some of you, but maybe some of you work graveyard shifts late at night, right? And to be able to make a statement like this, saying that if you eat after 8 p.m., you will definitely gain weight is a pretty large statement, and it's not true for everyone, right? Not everyone gains weight after 8 p.m. And pretty much it just comes down to the individual. Everyone's different. Everyone has different needs, and their bodies just reacts differently to food.
Okay, so there's actually no standard meal timing guidelines. However, it is suggested to divide eating evenly throughout the day. This is for having that sustained energy, especially for long days we may have on campus. Sometimes we'll have like 3-hour classes back to back, so having that bigger breakfast can be really beneficial. So here we have eating breakfast is associated with better memory and grades. So these are really important points to point out because we are students. We want to make sure we have that good memory, right? And also to lead us to having good grades. So a couple slides ago, we talked about a student who went to Starbucks and got that meal that also portrayed having a balanced plate. So meals like that can really set you up for a great day full of energy. So it's important to keep that in mind. And also over hunger can lead to over full. So like we talked about, getting hangry is not really the greatest idea. We want to make sure, if you tend to get hungry really fast after breakfast, maybe you can add more foods to your breakfast to make it more filling, adding more protein, more fiber, and also not going long periods of time without eating, because then you're going to get to a point where you're just so hungry and then you end up eating way more than you normally would have if you had eaten something before. And then gastric transit time averages about 3 to 5 hours. So this is just a kind of a good measurement of how much time to let go by before you have your next snack or meal. Of course, everybody is different, so it really depends on you, just like Raymond said. And also for easy recipes, you can go to budgetbytes.com, which the student athlete on a couple slides ago also used to make those really good recipes.
All right, so action time. So it says dine smart on and around campus. Ask for a to-go container when ordering and save half for later. So this is one tip that we usually recommend to students. So for example, we had that student that went to Panda Express. So maybe for some of us, we can't finish that entire entree meal from Panda Express. So maybe plan ahead, bring a to-go box or a container, save it for dinner for later. And to get closer to our performance plate, you can pair your entrees with fruits and veggies from home. So for example, how she brought the orange from home, right? And lastly, it says get advanced and enter chef mode. So meal prep breakfast in advance for busy days. Find recipes with all performance plate components and collaborate with family, friends, or roommates. It's a great way to not only get yourself start thinking about your nutrition goals, but maybe you can help your family and friends. And it's a great way to kind of work together, save some time, money, and the cleanup, right? So.
All right, so here's the question. It's true or false. So a balanced eating pattern should include 1 to 2 snacks daily. So here we see the students that answered this question. The majority of them put true, but the correct answer is actually false. So again, it's really important just to be in tune with your own body. If you like to snack a lot, like I really like to snack a lot, I find that my energy levels are more balanced throughout the day when I do have more snacks. That works for me. But maybe Raymond likes having 3 meals throughout the day and that works for him. So it really just depends on, how you feel and how you feel best.
All right, so now we're on our snack attack. So as we mentioned before, do a combination of fiber and protein snacks. So these are some examples, right? So we have a banana with a kind bar. We also have half handful of dried fruit and a half handful of nuts. Or try a cup of oatmeal and a 5-ounce Greek yogurt. Or 1 cup of carrot sticks and 2 boiled eggs, right? So pretty much if you put these combinations together, you'll feel fuller for longer, and maybe you won't, if your goal is not to overeat, you won't overeat and you can make it to your next meal.
And this is saying also that snacks are not required. So we don't have to have them if we don't want them, but they are definitely a good option. Okay, true or false? So because percent daily values are based on a 2,000 calorie diet, they don't apply to everybody. So here we have the majority of students put true, which is actually the correct answer. Again, this is on an individual basis, and we'll go over what daily values are on the nutrition label on most foods.
All right, so it says the fine print. So nutrition facts labels are one way to make informed food choices, but aren't for everyone. So serving sizes aren't recommendations, but they're amounts typically eaten. So as you can see here, it says a serving size, it says 8 servings per container. So that is not a daily intake value or recommendation. That is kind of what most people generally eat. So fun tip right there. And then it says ingredients are listed by weight, greatest to least. And then here is a little guideline for you to kind of break down the nutrition facts label in a simple way. So it says use percent daily values to compare two different products. So 5% or less is considered low, and 20% or more is considered high.
Okay, so Mission Nutrition is just the beginning. You can always follow us at TitanWell on Instagram. We do talk about other services that we have for students. For example, we have animal therapy, which is really awesome. We have like dogs and bunnies out there for you guys to come pet. That's just one of the services that we do offer. And also make sure to check out our workshop series, which you can find via this link here. We do talk about this topic, but as well as the Price Taste Right, which focuses on how to eat healthier but keeping your budget in mind. And also Refuel, Rehydrate, Rebuild, which focuses on how to make the most of your experiences at the gym with what you eat. So focusing on fitness nutrition. If you have really specific concerns that we could not answer today, you can feel free to contact our registered dietitian at this number or on this website to make a free one-on-one consultation appointment with him.
All right, so as I mentioned before, with our action plan booklet, hopefully you were able to get like a PDF version of this within the link. But it says, how will you time well? So make sure when you're, jotting some of the things down that maybe you thought you can apply to your own daily life or maybe your own nutrition goal, make sure to make your goal SMART. So a SMART goal is specific. So think who, what, when, where, and why. Measurable. So can I track the progress? Attainable. Is the goal reasonable? Relevant. Does the goal fit my needs? And timely. Is there a deadline? So those are just some of the things you can ask yourself as you make your own personal nutrition goal.
And here's our long list of references.
All right, so the last thing we have here, just like how we had a pre-test, we do have a post-test. So go ahead and maybe pause the video here. I think this is pretty much the end of our presentation. So we would much appreciate if you can go ahead and fill out that survey. Should take no longer than 10 minutes. Once again, this is a big help for us to figure out, are these workshops in demand? How can we improve these workshops in the future for fellow Titans like yourselves? And to see maybe what you guys got out of this.